Right. I've realized I don't want to produce a lot of content because obviously content's the driver, and then not actually have a through line. The through line is so important because not only does it make the ethos, the concept crystal clear in my mind, give me clarity, give me drive, give me motivation. It also makes everything coherent, obviously, hence being a through line. It derives the content itself, so it's kind of like an overarching theme of which all the other content relates to, because you talk to everyone, you talk to no one. I don't want to just chuck out a load of, there's so much content out there, content's cheap, so there needs to be a unique enough angle within the realm of the internet, of social media, that allows me to deliver. So I'm talking something that is applied to different to different areas, right? So originally I've got my professional angle, I'm going for the consultancy type. Then I've got my retreats angle, which is people like me now within the next 5 years and going back 5 years. People who have disposable income, but they feel like life's not giving them meaning. They see that the middle class is dwindling. They go online and they see millionaires and billionaires. That's the type of people that I want to target with experiences. And then obviously there's the content itself, which allows me to monetize the content, given enough of an audience, and also gives me people who agree with the ethos, but they go and buy an analog pack that I'm selling or a digital product. Now, I realized there are three very different angles, three very different clientele. You've got your professional, which is a little bit older if they're making executive decisions. Maybe they're like mid-30s to early 50s, let's say. Very in the conventional system, don't really think outside of the socio-economic structure because they've lived in a time where they were able to be relatively successful in it, and they're low volume but high sales potential. So there's few people like that in the English speaking world that are making authentic sustainability choices for their small to medium business. It's a small pool, but I can charge a pretty penny for it. Now you've got your retreats, which I mentioned, which was the original idea, but in itself, not only is it's not the best margins for a start, it's logistically difficult. I've no experience in it, but it gives me the most freedom because not only do I only need to operate limited retreats per year, it also has location freedom. I can scout the planet for the geographic locations that make sense, both economically and have them values. So for example, Portugal has a lot of eco resorts, eco-conscious people, local villagers, and they're not a highly, it's not a London or a Paris or a New York, right? It has more humble roots. And then, so that's medium volume, medium profit and sales potential. But it's a big market. There's a lot of people who are between 25 and 35 feeling either lost or unfulfilled in the line of work they're doing. My only caveat with that, I don't want them to go on a weekend and then they just go back into that corporate position because they're making 60 grand a year. They're comfortable. They've got a wife and a child on the way. So are they going to see the potential from the offering that I'm giving that demographic? Now, the initial idea was transcendence in a retreat, which still works. Maybe I extend the time. I was thinking 3 days, maybe I make it 5 days so you get the effects. Maybe it can be, originally it was very satirical. Maybe I make it slightly more pronounced, slightly more life-changing, less on the satirical, which is the younger angle with less disposable income, more on the people who will put a bit of time into wellness. They don't want the serious wellness, but they're prepared to meditate half an hour a day, for example, for 5 days, which takes a certain sort of maturity without being absorbed in the structure of our parents and grandparents without questioning norms. These people question norms, but they're open-minded enough to do something like this, but they're also mature enough to do the actual work which brings about transformation. And even if they do go back to that corporate lifestyle of which they've got dependence after, then at least they have a different mindset or mentality, and maybe they get into a passion project on the side. Maybe they spend more time in the community consciously. Maybe they cut the days to 4 days a week and spend more time with the child when it's born. Think little things like that. Maybe they buy things online more consciously. Maybe they get into regenerating. Maybe they start shopping in thrift shops on apps like Depop. Maybe they're just more conscious about their actions. Now, third clientele is the people most aware of climate change. This is your people who are 20 to maybe younger, maybe like 16, 17 to 25, 26. Now, these people are the most active on social media. They're also the most passive on social media, so they absorb the most content without giving it the most intention or conscious awareness or thought. They're also more drawn to the polarizing views because they're naturally emotionally driven. Now, these people don't have affordable disposable income to pay for a retreat or pay for consultancy. So let me cut to the chase. I was thinking, the through line is tricky because that's three very different people, three very different demographics. Now, I was thinking it's the moderate angle. So if I go for the mid-volume, mid-revenue angle, the retreats, that's also the mid-age range. So they're not the 18 to 25. They're not the 35 to 50 people making sustainability executive decisions, or the people just absorbing content without the money. The people in the middle, okay? So if I go for that angle, the people that are younger can look to where they're going to be and be like, okay, maybe they're right. And then the people who are older can see the people who are just younger, they're bringing them through, but they also see, okay, the world is accelerating, we need change, maybe we should look at what them people who are 10 years younger are consciously trying to bring into the world. So moderation, I realised, does not sell. That's the problem. Moderation does not sell. I thought radical moderation also doesn't sell. It's too wishy-washy. I can't say, okay, we over-socialise, we over-industrialise, we're over-consuming, we are overly materialistic, we overwork, we whatever, all these different things. You talk to everyone, you talk to no one. So what is it? What was my retreat's initial the initial purpose was always transcendence, which is transformation or transition. The reason I say transition is it allows me to get that consultancy benefit. Even if it's minimal, the consultancy is what allows me and the brand to survive. So in tone, I don't want to be the full corporate seriousness of applying the knowledge to execs in corporate, because the authenticity goes. I also don't want to be too authentic and chaotic and liberal that I apply to the younger people, but they have no money, and the corporate consultancies look at me like an idiot, right? So we're going for that middle angle. Not super serious, but not super playful. It's balanced. It's wit rather than, for example, wit rather than, like, is it Laurel and Hardy? What's it called? Like slapstick, right? Like, for example, that's the type of shit I mean, right? We go for that middle angle where everyone appreciates it, but the people on the retreats may tell their not recruiters, their employers, oh, there's a guy, he does consultancy. Let's look at the transitions we can make in the business. So we're transition focused. We're going to narrow it down to a few different topics within transition, because transition can still be broad, but it's something that, as a word, it's great because it applies to both those who want to go from the corporate to meaningful as an employee, and also businesses who are not even compelled, they have to transition because of government policies such as that which came in the EU. So transition works better than sustainability as a general concept. We're going to keep with the solar punk and funk because that applies. Solar punk is talking about over-industrialization to more of a balance. And the funk is talking about, okay, stop going from consuming corporate generated entertainment to having joy authentically in real life together. So I'm happy with that. I'm happy with that branding. I'm happy with the core theme of transition. I just need to think about how I can have expandable content. I also want my content on the brand page to be emotional, but not too analytical. I don't want people thinking too much. Maybe I'll use metaphors, maybe I'll use analogies, because that allows me to be both playful, but also a realist. So maybe that's the angle I go for. Lost my thought. Let's leave it there. But I'm gonna go out now. I'm gonna go into town, get some food, and have a little think about other little aspects. Because the content's the driver, so I've got transition. Now let's just think about what industries or sectors that I'm gonna talk about. So it's consistent, and then people can see my content like, yeah, straight away, okay, he's the guy who talks about transitions from the material to that which is balanced with that which is ethereal and more intangible. So thoughts and ideas and spirit. So we'll leave it there.